If you've been thinking about how you can devote the next phase of your life to making a difference, whether through a new career or a total reinvention of yourself, this book, part of our Big Ideas in Books, a Nurturing Big Ideas book review with me, Yvonne DiVita, your Big Idea facilitator, this book can help you transform your life and your community. And that's what we're going to do today. Literally talk about that transformation. We're going to talk about Kirsten Bunch, who wrote the book Next Act, Give Back. Discover your personal path to go from being charitable to being a change maker. And Kirsten is doing similar things to what Nurturing Big Ideas does. But I was so impressed with her and this book that I said, it doesn't matter how similar we are. There are a lot of differences and a lot of places we can collaborate. And in the end, I just am so in love with the book and so in love with Kirsten and what she's doing and how she's doing it and what the idea of Changemaker is. I had to share. And by the way, we'll be talking with Kirsten this week, so her video will be of conversations next week probably. Now let's start with the introduction where she says, someday is now. We're always talking about we're going to do things someday. Well, she wants us to know that someday is now. Power is the capacity or ability to direct or influence the behavior of others or the course of events, and that's from the Oxford Dictionary. Little sip of tea here. We're all about your power, ladies. We're all about enhancing it, bringing it to the forefront, showing you that you have it. I mean, you have talent, and I think your talent can make money. I mean, magic. How many times do I have to tell you that? Talents make magic, and magic makes money. But this book from Kirsten, Next Act, Give Back, does so much more than just offer a phrase or a word of encouragement. So she asks if your life's work is done, and maybe it's not. Maybe there are other things you're meant to do, and maybe in your soul, in your heart, you've been thinking about that. And maybe you should consider the idea that it might be your idea. That changes everything, because we each have the power to live a life full of meaning and personal fulfillment. And this, in my mind, is what creates a better world. It's because we have this big idea, and because we say, I'm going to go and do something with this big idea. And by the way, it doesn't mean you have to go out and become a politician. You don't have to go out and become a major public speaker. We're talking about community and changing your community, because every community is connected to another community. And by changing just that little piece, you begin to change the bigger world. It's the big audacious idea that I see in Kirsten's book. It's where many of us are. We want to do things in our community. We want to take a big idea and live a better life and have it give back. It isn't just to support us or make us money or make us love our life better. I think we do. We women of a certain age, and that means anyone from 8 years old to 98 years old. I'm not putting a number on it. I say a certain age because I want to include everybody in any age group. We do want to become what she calls a change maker. This is Kirsten. She talks about a crisis of legacy and how she's inspired by women all over the world. Now, here is a big part of this. The stories in this book and the places Kirsten's been and the things that she has done will inspire you beyond anything I can say to you in Nurturing Big Ideas. I'm so in love with this book. I used to think that Inventing Joy was my favorite book. Did a video on that. Talked about how her stories were powerful and wonderful and the things that she did. But Kirsten puts her to shame. I don't mean that in a bad way. I want to say that Kirsten's experiences teach us that women do have power. Our talent matters. Our voice counts. The things we do in our local area, even just on our street, in our neighborhood, are very important. And she wants to know if your life is in crisis mode, where you're not happy with it. You're not where you want to be. And the question then becomes, is it time to stop playing safe? Is it time to become a change maker? Listen to Kirsten. She says her goal is to help women step into the role of change maker. And the book teaches you how. At the end of chapters, there are workbooks. There are exercises that you need to do. This isn't all about suddenly becoming something new or different. It's about building on what you've already accomplished. I think maybe this is the best part of the book, because so often we ladies think that we don't have the talent, we don't have the connections, we don't have the power, and actually we do. Kirsten calls it finding your North Star. I call it using the talent pulsing in your soul. And I want to pull this quote out from one woman telling Kirsten, I dreamed of being a filmmaker, but I never thought it would happen. I didn't have the knowledge. I didn't have the resources. I didn't feel like I had the connections. I was like, maybe in some next life or way in the future. And yet this woman went on to achieve her dream. It's one of the best stories in the book, and I think you need to get the book and read about it. I think you need to sit down and say to yourself, yes, I'm one little person, but what have I done in my life? Even if you've been a stay-at-home mom, my gosh, that is a big job. Taking care of the house and the children and managing things like volunteering at school. And I bet you did all sorts of other things. Taking field trips and being one of the monitors on field trips. It all adds up. If you're at all uncertain about what your talent and your power is, I'm here for you. But this book can help you a great deal. Maybe you should get it and read it. I like that she talks about how reinvention is hard. And so even though you're reinventing yourself, again, from the previous slide, you're not suddenly becoming something different or trying to find new skills, even though you may learn some new skills. You're taking what you knew, you're taking your experience, you're becoming the person that you want to be now, and it is a reinvention. And she offers 3 essential standards that are very powerful. You must invest in yourself, in your ideas, if you want to succeed. And that means time. It absolutely means a little bit of money. It absolutely means effort, energy, and focus. So the investment is not just sitting down and making an Etsy store, or sitting down and creating a website, or starting to do videos. You have to do a plan. And you have to invest the time, money, and energy in it. She says you can do good and make money. That's hard to believe, I know. We used to teach that at Blog Pause, the pet influencer community that I was one of the co-founders of. The pet bloggers wanted so desperately to help the shelters that they worked with and worked for. And so they didn't want to charge money for their efforts and their talent. And we said, you have to charge money. How can you continue to support the shelters if you are not bringing in money? It doesn't mean charging the shelters for your talent. Donate it, volunteer. But when you're talking to other brands that pay for advertising in many other places, learn how to get paid for your talent so you can do good and make money. And then she says, people want to support your ideas. Interestingly, we don't believe that, especially women. I mean, more women than men that I've met just feel like they're alone in this little cocoon and no one wants to help them. They're just afraid to ask for help is the issue. Your community has places. Look at your community center. Look at your Chamber of Commerce. Look at your women's groups and other networking places, and I guarantee you will find support for you and your ideas. You just have to go out there and mingle. Now, living your legacy. Wow, look at this. Imagine this. When you are standing at the top of the stairs, leading down into a giant auditorium. It is scary as hell to take that first step. An idea and a plan on paper is one thing, but putting it out into the world makes it real. So while I tell you, create that plan on paper, and one of my blog posts talks about how to create a one-page business plan. You then have to do something with it. It's there on paper doesn't help you. You have to put it out into the world. Speak it out loud, and that's what that quote means to me. It doesn't mean you need to go out and become a public speaker. I think you should do a little bit of public speaking, and it could be on video, teaching people some of your experiences and helping them learn what you know. But it is putting it out into the world to make it real. And here's one of the questions we put in front of people. What will your life be like if you don't do this? And what will the community you live in be like if you don't do this? If your big idea is the one that's going to change everything and you don't do anything with it, well, you won't know that if you don't put it out into the world and make it real. So there are resources. I mentioned some of them already locally. You can even go online. Google can be a friend, but do not depend solely on Google. You have to get in front of actual people. I think a really big answer to this about living your legacy, about understanding what that means and how to create it and know what your legacy would be, is to buy Kirsten's book. Yeah, there you go. Buy it today. In the end, you want to be in love with your life. And Kirsten has a chapter, and in one of her final chapters, What to Do Now, she says, I thought this woman could be anything. She could do anything. She was at a networking event, and she met a woman who was managing a woman's shelter. And she was just awed by this woman, kind of like I'm awed by her. So I asked her what makes her dedicate her talent and time to the women's shelter instead of, being out in the corporate world where she could have the big 6-figure paying job probably. And the woman said to Kristen, I want to be in love with my life. I don't want to have a lukewarm affair. I want head spinning, stomach flipping love. And this job gives me that. And so I want you to be in love. I want you to figure out your big idea and your talent. I want you to be a change maker if that's your goal. It can be your legacy. Think about it. It's what I'm doing. Nurturing big ideas. It's my love affair. It's been a lifelong love affair. Because I believe in you, and I believe you are underserved, and I believe that this book, Next Act, Give Back, Discover Your Personal Path to Go from Being Charitable to Being a Changemaker is the best book of 2019, and it needs to be in your hands. Get it today and read it. As usual, we'll be doing more of these. Probably won't be every week. We're becoming very busy with our video conversations with all the wonderful women that we meet. We're going to do one not about the book, but about Kirsten and her ideas, and she's going to share some more things with us soon. Hop over to our Start Here page and get What's Love Got to Do with It. It's our ebook, and it talks about how sometimes loving what you do isn't going to work, where you have to learn that there are things that you love as part of what you're doing that aren't going to work, and so you need to let them go. But it doesn't mean you won't love just as much what's left. I might do fiction too. I have a couple fiction books that I really want to talk about. And that will be coming down the road. If you have a book you'd like me to review here, you can email me at my email address, Yvonne@DiVita.com, and include the subject line, book review for Nurturing Big Ideas. And that's the end of things for today. I want you to buy this book, but we'll be talking a little more about it when I have my conversation at Nurturing Big Ideas today with Kirsten Bunch. See you then.